Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back. This is Take It to the Hizzy Fantasy Football, TITTH number 33. I'm your host, Justin Bruni. This is my co-host, Nick Davis. My co-host, Emran Khan. Say what's up, guys.
What's up, guys? How you doing?
Hey, everyone. Let's have a good day.
Yep. We got a good group of topics on the board for today. We're going to take off, though, with some recent news. We got Hard Knocks premiering this week. Pretty good intro. Anthony Lynn had me, ready to run through a wall, in the first scene. As far as Zoom meetings go, it's pretty solid. Had me motivated, had me pretty hyped for the episode. What do you think, Nick? Instant reaction to Hard Knocks?
It was very interesting to actually see the inside logistics on how NFL teams are handling their day-to-day life, considering the COVID situation. One of the things that I saw was with the Rams, they had like a huge field, and it was like covered, and they had the offense and defense. They were going to be on opposite sides, but they were going to be facing like towards the goalpost of the field. So that's a good way to keep social distance and keep everybody together, but away from each other. So that was I was very surprised to see that, but I definitely wanted to see a little bit more football, but given the situation, completely understood why we were seeing what we did.
Yeah, absolutely. The logistics behind everything, that's driving the NFL and their preseason training camps and leading into this year is huge. And, round of applause to all the people involved in, keeping the players healthy, running equipment checks. Can you imagine having to, sanitize pads day in and day out? I mean, that shit has to stink regardless, but now you got to clean it all down for, antibacterial purposes and all this other stuff. So there are literally tribes of people that are making this season happen. Obviously, it's funded behind a ton of money, which, they probably need to ante up a little bit more so the NFL. Get it together, guys. But yeah, everything that's behind the scenes that's going into driving this season, we're getting to see it firsthand on Hard Knocks, and that's pretty nice. Some good funny stuff, Sean McVay, social awareness, don't shit in a porta potty, some fun stuff. Yeah, exactly, right? I mean, pretty common sense, but like Nick mentioned, not a ton of football that we're seeing there. The little interaction that we saw between Goff and McVay, where Goff is checking down where he would throw and stuff like that. Their little back and forth banter, oh yeah, that's good. I like that cadences. Yeah, if we're gonna go all in, let's really get on the calls off the line and this other stuff. Yeah, McVay, a lot of fun. Kind of showed off a lot of his personality. Same thing with Anthony Lynn. You like the tight end engagement? You said.
Yeah, at the end where Anthony Lynn cut the 4-string tight end, and he was like, "Are you effing kidding me?" Straight to Anthony Lynn's face, and Anthony was definitely taken back. But it was just interesting to see that because usually the guys are all mopey and stuff, and they kind of know they're being cut. Yeah, this guy was almost absolutely surprised that he was being cut. But like Justin said earlier, they have Hunter Henry coming up playing on a tag, so he's gonna be playing angry. So they really don't need a tight end. So.
No. One thing I was going to add, you guys, I think this is the first time with Hard Knocks. A couple things I noticed, and I didn't get to watch the whole thing, but from the parts I did watch, one of the things I noticed was, obviously we knew that everything's happening via Zoom and virtual right now, right? So seeing Anthony Lynn and McVay address their team via Zoom, and virtual was, kind of weird because I remember last year with Hard Knocks, you remember John Gruden, he would say something and knock on wood if you're with me. Oh, yeah. And I thought, I was like, oh, that's so cool. So you don't have that.
We are missing that.
Yeah, we are missing that a little bit. And then the other thing I was going to say was, I was thinking really hard. I think this is the first time we've had two teams on Hard Knocks. Yeah. I get it, both fun. LA teams and both. So I think it's really cool to see the compare and contrast. How both coaches are handling it, and there's a pretty drastic difference in their personalities too.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Sean McVay, young, friendly, maybe a little more Instagram oriented in his matchmaking. Anthony Lynn, old school guy, kind of talked about how him and his wife hooked up in Cleveland because there's literally no one to date there. So all that was fun, and yeah, we're looking forward to the next episode. Hard Knocks is always a nice little push into the season. Yep. A little bit different this year, so I think that we're all a little bit more anxious to see behind the scenes and kind of see how things are rolling along into the season. Appreciate that, HBO. Keep them coming. Keep the good HBO content coming. Yep. It's not TV, it's HBO. So last episode, we started off with Darius Guice getting kicked off the Washington football team, kind of our reaction to that, where we're going with the players that are still left. So this week, I know that we're a little bit behind. We had some technical difficulties earlier in the week. So now we're going to get into Lamar Miller and his signing with the Patriots and how that's going to affect that backfield. What guys we're going after. Are we still in on Sony Michel? Are we still in on James White? Does Lamar Miller make this roster? I guess I'll just toss it to you first, Emron. Yep. Are you drafting Lamar Miller anywhere?
No.
Okay.
I am not. This would have been a great signing in 2014. Lamar Miller, I think he's just a name right now. That Patriots backfield is stacked with a lot of people and just a lot of heads. Mm-hmm. They, usually don't like to, have a single running back. It's usually a committee. Bill Belichick likes to play to everybody's strengths. I think what's going to happen here, the item of note too is although they just signed Lamar Miller, within the last week, he's already on the PUP list, the PUP active list, just as Sony Michel is. Mm-hmm. So they're on the PUP list where, they are taking up a roster spot, so they could return at any time. From what we're hearing, it looks like Sony Michel may be out. It could be out, a couple of weeks, which is kind of worrisome because it's a crowded backfield, and I was really looking forward to seeing what Michel would do with Cam. Mm-hmm. But Miller, I think he's just a name. I wouldn't be surprised if he's not on the team when the season starts in about a few weeks. What do you guys think?
What do you think, Nick? You like Michel, Miller, taking either of those guys?
No. The Patriot way for running back production in my fantasy team does not work. They like to have the committee going at all times. There is usually one player that gets the bulk of the carries, but Bill Belichick don't give a damn about your fantasy team. So he's there for the win. He's there for the win. Completely understandable. Much respect for the Super Bowls, but he has great running backs on his team. They can all be used in different ways, but he uses them to win, not for fantasy production. Sony Michel didn't even get 1,000 yards rushing last year, and he still got almost 250 attempts, which was about 4 times more than the next person, which was James White. So, he doesn't care about fantasy, so I just kind of stay away and just let him do his thing in the league.
Right, absolutely. So James White is definitely the guy that I want out of this backfield, and I'm sure you guys will agree with me. If there's a piece to have in this backfield, it's going to be James White. Second on the team last year in targets behind Julian Edelman. I do see a healthy N'Keal Harry kind of biting into that workload, grabbing a little bit of those shares in the passing game. But at the same time, I think James White's the guy to grab here. He's my running back 41. For reference, Michel is my running back 32. These are PPR rankings. And Michel just has a little bit higher of a designation just based off of, being in between the tacklers, downhill runner. We've already discussed about, Bill's running back by committee. So if he is the one at 32, literally he's the last starting running back that I have on there. And I have, Kareem Hunt, in the mix. You have plenty of other backups ranked ahead of him. Michel, a nice piece in a good offense in years past, but there's a little bit more questions this year, coming in. You have Cam there. You have Lamar Miller getting brought in to, essentially split work with Michel. Like Emron mentioned, they're both on the PUP list right now. Essentially, you're rolling the dice on who's going to start week 1. Because James White, he is not your running back 1 on any team. He's not going to start out, as your first and second down.
No, that's not his role.
Yeah, he's like an Eckler almost, but like almost a poor man's Eckler because he just did not have as many receiving yards. But he does the same thing. He had 95 targets with 72 receptions. So
to Bill Belichick, he's a rich man's Eckler because Eckler hasn't won a Super Bowl, and James White has, I think, a couple of game-winning drives under his belt.
True.
So James White is also old, reliable to Belichick. Same thing with Burkhead. He's very similar to White. He's my running back 73. Looking at this backfield, James White, Damian Harris, both of you guys have brought up off camera. Yeah. Rex Burkhead at 73, Harris at 70. They've got this J.J. Taylor that they unsigned free agent out of Arizona. He's a 5'5" running back. Looks like, the son of Tariq Cohen and Justice Hill. Where are you guys going back here? Are you only on James White? Are you on Damian Harris? What are you thinking?
So this is one of those things I think where we kind of missed preseason. It would have been nice to see how these running back battles shake out, like how they look in live contact versus other teams in competition. Yep. We don't have that. Obviously, what I would say is hopefully you're monitoring your your drafts, and your drafts are towards the end of the month, so you can kind of watch this news for the next couple of weeks and see what happens. What I would be doing right now is watching Michel's situation, seeing if he's going to be healthy. I'm definitely going to drop him down on my rankings just because of his health status right now being up in the air so close to the season. The player I would like to target in the later part of our drafts, maybe in the last 2 to 3 picks, as a potential lotto ticket would be Damian Harris. The Patriots took him, I believe, in the 4th round out of Alabama a couple of years ago. Actually, I'm sorry, just last year in 2019. He didn't really play last year.
No.
When you look at his build, height, weight, size, speed, he's identical to Sony Michel.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems like one of those things where Belichick may use him, and you're not really hearing much about him. And isn't that Bill Belichick's way?
Yeah, that's the thing to do.
Keeps it under wraps.
Mm-hmm.
But also, he could also throw a wrench because, we all, off camera, we talked about all the people that got burned when a certain guy named Jonas Gray had 4 touchdowns.
Mm-hmm.
Mike Gillislee had a 4-touchdown game, never to be heard again.
Yep.
So it's just, you don't know.
Didn't Brandon Bolden do some work?
Yeah, anytime that guy played, he scored 3 touchdowns.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So was it Jonas Gray or Brandon Bolden that he missed? It was either walkthroughs or warm-ups or something because of his alarm. And that literally, it was like a multi-touchdown week.
It might have been great.
Yeah, he misses an alarm, and then he's not cut, but he might as well have been.
Yeah, I think it was great because after that 4-touchdown game, I don't know if he ever played again. But yeah, my thoughts on the Patriots backfield is I'm watching it. And hopefully, Michel doesn't miss too much time because I think with Cam, I think you could see him get a lot of touchdowns, close yardage. I think they're going to be more run heavy this year.
Mm-hmm.
And the later parts of your draft, when you're looking for those lotto tickets, for those players that could be high upside, low downside. I think I would monitor Damian Harris, but if I were drafting tomorrow, thankfully I'm not. I would probably lean towards maybe taking Harris with one of my last 2 picks, just to see what happens.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the Damian Harris pick is interesting in really deep leagues. If you're drafting in leagues that have 20 rounds or more, 19 rounds or more, yeah, I could see Damian Harris definitely getting on a roster. Excuse me. Just based on his similarities to Lamar Miller and a Sony Michel, I think all 3 of these guys have the same tool set, have the same type of abilities to provide this offense and the offensive line for a rushing attack. So I'm really not interested in any of them. I'm more preference to White and Burkhead just because I know that they're going to have roles in this offense. Burkhead is still a big favorite of Belichick, and James White, he's just the most consistent player on this roster outside of Julian Edelman. So I'll definitely take a shot at White, and Burkhead, is kind of like in that space that you're looking at Damian Harris. I have Burkhead at running back 73, Harris at running back 70. So you're pretty much splitting hairs there. And realistically, if you're in PPR, you're going Burkhead and Harris, you might go standard. I think that's really the way to look at it in the back end of your drafts because even in standard, in this offense, James White's going to get picked up, maybe just a little bit later. So anything to add to the end of that, Nick, before we move on?
No, I'm good because I'm not choosing any of the running backs for my team. So
yeah, Nick is staying away from the Patriots running backs this year, which really not a terrible thing.
It's a strategy in itself, to be completely honest. So,
no, absolutely.
I got to really commit to this lifestyle. It's just.
I think Nick is smart. Nick says, let that be somebody else's problem.
Yeah, absolutely,
exactly. Because James White technically not going to start for you every week. I don't think. I don't think that he's going to be a guy that's absolutely a must plug and play.
Especially with Cam taking over, you have to give it time to see how.
Yeah, you really do. He's probably not someone you're plugging in your week 1 lineup.
I definitely play to win, so I just just stay on the course,
Absolutely. All right. So busting into some of our topics from this week. Let's start off with trust or bust. Emron, Lamar Jackson, trust or bust?
Absolutely. Big trust. So, Lamar Jackson just took the NFL by storm last season. Coming into the draft, he was a Heisman winner at Louisville, very productive, very decorated career. Mm-hmm. And, even with all of that, people, honestly, I'm just going to say it, they just disrespected the guy. You had people, Bill Pulliam, say he should switch to wide receiver, running back, and just, mocked him. And what I could never understand is when a guy has, basically Olympic caliber speed, why is that a detriment to him being a quarterback? Why would you not want a dual threat quarterback?
Yeah.
So in his rookie year, you got some time. Ravens won some games, but it was obvious, he wasn't really throwing the ball. Last year, takes the league by storm, 36 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, over 3,000 yards passing. Oh, by the way, he shattered Michael Vick's rushing record of over 1,200 yards. This guy had an electrifying season and won the NFL MVP. And I think he's here to stay. I don't think he's going anywhere. He's a very safe runner. He takes care of his body. And like I mentioned, he did have an electric year last year. I just don't think those numbers are sustainable. A 6-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio. I don't know who can do that back to back. But that doesn't mean I think he's going to fall off or be a bust. I think he's still going to be top 3 in fantasy production for quarterbacks. But I could see him. I think I covered in my piece, like for rushing yards, I could see him maybe have 30% reduction in rushing yards, but an increase in passing yards. But let's say I'm right, and he even has a 30% reduction, which sounds huge. He'd still be around 900 yards, close to 1,000 yards in rushing. Like he's going to give you, running back numbers as a quarterback, no pun intended. So I'm all over him. I think if you're in a super flex league, I think I might consider him being the first quarterback, and I think also he's going to make big strides in his third year in this offense. What do you guys think? How are you feeling?
I think we're all in on trusting him. I think we're all on the same page there. It's really just for different reasons, and I'm all over the regression this year. Even if he does go down to 30%, you are still looking at 900 to 1,000 rushing yards. I think the touchdown passing percentage is going to go down. He only had 265 completions last year on 400 attempts. It's really good. That's 66% completion rating, but the touchdowns to interceptions, like you said, 36 passing touchdowns to 6 interceptions on only 400 attempts. Guys like Mahomes, Roethlisberger, Stafford, big arm throwers, they need like 500, 550 to hit those types of passing touchdown numbers. So I do see that coming down, but at the same time, I see not regression, but progression in his passing game. I think he's going to pass more. I think he might run a little bit less. So I'm right there with you as far as the rushing yards go. Someone needs to give me a reason not to trust this guy. Is there anything on this offense that you're not buying into? The Ravens are favored to win every single game this year. Yeah. And if you take Lamar out of that equation, it might be 8-8. I mean, realistically, how many games does their backup win you if Lamar's not there? So MVP status is all there for me. I think he can take another leap forward this year. It just may not happen with his legs. I think he could potentially be a 4,000-yard passer, maybe even hit 40 passing touchdowns, but maybe he takes a little bit of a drawback in his rushing attempts. What do you think, Nick?
I actually jumped on him last year, kind of like in the later rounds. Emron, I was in this league with Emron, and my team actually did really well with Lamar Jackson because
Superflex.
Yep, he was. I just had to get an insurance policy. I had Jimmy G and Jacoby Brissett in case he got hurt, like RG3 did, because RG3 was a different runner than Lamar Jackson. So over the entire year, what I saw was I liked how he avoided contact at the point of contact. He just has like that innate ability to not take those vicious hits, and he just stays fresh, basically. Another thing that I saw from him from year 1 to year 2 was the ball came out of his hand a lot better. He actually had trouble with passing in NFL football in the first year that he came into the league. So that's why they focused a lot more on the run, because they knew that they could run. And that's one of the reasons why I grabbed him, is because I heard Harbaugh design the offense for Lamar Jackson. That's one of the biggest endorsements you can get from the coach if they're going to redesign their offense for you. So I was like, okay, well, let's see what happens. It ended up exploding last year. So I'm all in on Lamar Jackson. Hopefully I get him this year, but, I do understand that he's probably going to be taken a lot higher than what I got him last year.
He's looking at what? Quarterback 1 in Superflex?
Yeah.
The last mock that we did, he went quarterback 1.
He has to be.
And Mahomes went, what, 5th? 1, 2, 5th overall. So that's just the difference between the two. Me, personally, I have Lamar Jackson at quarterback 2 just because I see Mahomes as a guy that can get me 50 total touchdowns and a lot easier pace than Lamar, because Lamar does have to do it with his legs. I'm talking about him potentially hitting 40 passing touchdowns this year, but a quarterback hitting 9, 10 rushing touchdowns every year, that's still difficult, especially when they went out and grabbed J.K. Dobbins in the draft. They have Marquise Brown who's put on some weight. 23 extra pounds this year. You have Mark Andrews that's going to be a stud and going to be on the field more. So to me, they have more weapons this year, a few more around Jackson, same as it was last year. His first year as a rookie, he literally had nothing. I can't remember who was his best pass option his rookie season. I went to the Chargers and the Ravens playoff game. They let him throw the ball like 5 or 6 times in the first half. He was not a downhill thrower in his first year. He went 6-1 his rookie season and only had 6 passing touchdowns.
Yep.
Only 1 interception, which is great. They limited his liability in the offense, right? But at the same time, they wouldn't let him throw the ball down the field. So I see them, unmuzzling him a little bit more this year, letting him take more deeper shots, right? You have a Marquise Brown that's going to be on the field more.
Deep threat.
You have a Mark Andrews that's going to be on the field more. You have another weapon there in J.K. Dobbins, who's going to keep Mark Ingram even more fresh. You still got, Willie Snead, Miles Boykin. They have like Chris Moore, DeAnthony Thomas. They have some interesting weapons there that the Jackson can use. I'm just, a little bit held back on them. I'm going to keep Mahomes ahead of them, but it's nothing but trust this year. I'm also not someone that's going to go ahead and, even in Superflex, in my first 5 picks, I'm probably not taking a quarterback, and that's the space. If you're taking Lamar Jackson in Superflex, where you got to grab him.
That's what I was going to say. I love Lamar Jackson. He's probably not going to end up on any of my teams. Not because I don't want him to.
Mm-hmm.
He's just going to go a lot earlier than I'm comfortable.
He's very pricey. He's very pricey.
And then the other thing I wanted to add on this one was, like Justin mentioned, at how this offense is advanced is their offensive coordinator, Greg Roman, is one of the most underrated offensive coordinators in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
Him and Harbaugh have done a great job of, progressing this offense over the last couple of years and really designing it around, Lamar Jackson and his strength, and it was evident last year. He's the same guy that helped the 49ers, a decade ago construct that offense around Colin Kaepernick.
Yeah.
When they went to the Super Bowl. So
big deal.
This is the great offensive coordinator, and Harbaugh's a fantastic coach. So
the one thing that I want you guys to remember is that Lamar Jackson has already surpassed Michael Vick as a passer. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
His best year in Atlanta, Mike Vick only passed for 2,474 yards and was 20 touchdowns to 13 interceptions. Lamar Jackson had 3,100 yards, 36 touchdowns, and 6 interceptions.
In 15 games.
Okay, so the one thing that I actually need from him this year is I need him to be used all 16 games because he really screwed me out of the championship game when he sat, okay? So I just need you to not do as well, defensively to keep the game close for me. So that's all I ask from Lamar Jackson, but honestly, Mike Vick is a poor man's Lamar Jackson at this point. So
I'm with you, Nick, and I have good news for you. I don't think Lamar Jackson liked how his playoffs ended, so I think he's coming back with NFL. He's going to give you hell.
Yeah, I agree. As far as like the garbage time or getting him to play more games, I'm not sure, guys. I mean, they're favored to win every single game this year. I'm not sure if he's going to be in the last game this year. I think they could be well ahead in the bye. They may have already secured it by week 14 or 15. So that might be a situation that you get yourself into. So just make sure that you play in leagues that don't have week 17 championship weeks, or at least try to. I don't know. That's what I would try to avoid is leagues that are going to have that last week in the NFL actually counting, because it's a real thing. A lot of stars do sit in those weeks, and when it comes down to your wallet and your money, you're looking at a championship. You got to have the guys that are there to give you the most value. So we're all high on Lamar Jackson. We may all not pay the price for him. I'm going to be doing a bunch of leagues this year, so maybe I get fruity and I pop off a Lamar Jackson or even Patrick Mahomes in my top 5.
Yep.
So we'll see. We'll see what happens. But we're all big trust on Lamar Jackson this year. This next one, another trust or bust. We got DeAndre Swift. What do you think, Emron?
I trust DeAndre Swift. I think the Lions, we talked a little bit about Stafford last week. I really excited for this Lions offense with Stafford being healthy. I think they have a lot of potential at every level of that offense. They have solid receivers, Kenny Galladay, Marvin Jones. I think T.J. Hawkinson's going to be awesome in his second year. And that brings us to the backfield. They drafted Kerryon Johnson just 2 years ago in the second round. And Johnson, had an impressive rookie year, but last year, between his health and just being underperforming, I think Matt Patricia's losing a little bit of faith, and they invested a high second-round pick in Swift this year. So check this out. Johnson, from his 2018 to 2019 year, he only had 5 fewer carries, so pretty much identical production in the rushing year, right?
Mm-hmm.
But over 230 fewer yards. That is bad.
It's not great.
No, and
it's not great.
It's well documented that Patricia's fighting for his job, so he's got to have some type of insurance policy if Johnson's hurt again or is unproductive. Here comes Swift, who's a talented running back at Georgia, dual threat, could catch the ball out of the backfield, is a solid runner. And I think this backfield may start off as a committee initially, just as that's how it is for rookie running backs, unless you're a top 5 pick. But I think Swift is someone I wouldn't give it more than maybe 3 or 4 weeks. He's going to take over because Johnson's going to get hurt again, or he's just going to be ineffective. And I think he's just going to be a solid weapon in this offense. I think he can catch the ball out of the backfield. And he's coming into an offense where he's not the centerpiece. He's not going to be running into 8-man fronts. He's got defenses worrying about Kenny Galladay over the field, over the middle, T.J. Hawkinson, Marvin Jones, Marvin Hall. So I think he's going to be a good value. What do you guys think?
So I was sharing this into my Facebook groups, and my man Bill Wilson actually brought up a good point. That DeAndre Swift is actually pretty good, but will he get the Detroit Lions 4 wins this year? And I think that's a very valid and funny point because it was hilarious when I actually saw it. But yeah, even Barry Sanders couldn't get them a playoff win. So he's a great player, but I don't think it's the right situation for him at all. I don't think that his talent isn't going to increase the wins for the team. It's just kind of like another piece for them to struggle with and to misuse. Matt Patricia is a defensive coach, but his defense ain't really that good. Nope. And he kind of ran out Darius Slay, so I don't expect any high production from the offense except maybe Matthew Stafford and maybe one of the receivers, but DeAndre Swift, I think it's just not the right situation for him, but I do think he is a talent in the league.
Yeah, myself, I'm not really interested in the Lions' backfield. You have Johnson there, you have Swift now. You also got to keep in mind they have Ty Johnson and Bo Scarborough. Ty Johnson is actually going to get Ty Johnson is going to get plenty of work in the passing game. That's what he's there for. They no longer have Theo Riddick, and they lost J.D. McKissick to your boys, the Washington football team, whatever they're going by.
WTF.
Yeah, WTF. So there's still other mouths to feed here, and I don't really see Johnson doing anything with Swift coming in. I don't see Swift taking miraculous strides forward with Johnson still there. I need an injury. I need somebody to go down to really show me some value in this backfield here. Bo Scarborough was actually an interesting piece last year, coming in and filling in for Johnson. J.D. McKissick, wasn't really doing anything, but both of those guys, they both caught balls out of the backfield, and with Stafford out, they were getting plenty of action in garbage time. So Johnson, Swift, I have Swift at running back 28, and I have Johnson at running back 33. So they're very close. I personally don't see myself drafting either of them. If I do, they're going to my bench. There's not going to be a ton of risk on there. I just feel that I can get a little bit more value back, and even other split backfields. I just like the situation in other places. I like the offensive line more for the Colts for a Taylor and a Mack pairing. I'll take either of those guys realistically because I think both of them could boom. Mack a little bit more injury prone, but same thing here. Johnson more injury prone, right? So Swift would be the guy on paper I think that you want to take, just based off of Johnson's lack of efficiency in this offense. But like we've touched on Patricia. He's a bad coach. For me, every year since he's joined the Lions, he's been a potential midseason firing candidate, in my eyes. One of the worst defenses in the league the past 2 years in Detroit since he came on. Has all the weapons there on offense, but what is their identity? When you look at this talent in that backfield, you could be a run-heavy team. You look at the wide receiver room, you could be a pass-heavy team. They don't have an identity, and I feel like they're constantly trying to find it mid-stride in the middle of a game. That's how I feel.
Yeah, I think my belief is what my scenario for Swift myself would be if I would get Swift maybe in the range, depending on your league, round 8 to 11 somewhere. I know that initially, barring injury happening in the next few weeks, he's probably going to be splitting time, maybe taking over. But I think he's someone that if you're patient, mid-season to playoff push, he could be a factor.
Yeah.
And you brought up the Colts. I agree. That's maybe the best O-line in football. But I like Stafford a lot more than I like Rivers this year. And I think I like that offense a lot better.
Makes sense.
I think that Stafford last year was on his way, I think, to a 5,040-yard touchdown season again prior to injury. And I think as Stafford goes, that team goes. So that's where my trust is with Swift.
Yeah, and I get that. It makes sense. If Stafford's just taking strides forward, I want the all Kenny Galladay. I want something in that passing offense because I still don't see Swift or Johnson as a significant threat in the passing game. I know that Swift can catch balls out of the backfield, but that doesn't mean that he's going to be great at it.
Right.
You're still switching over to the NFL. He didn't have a ton of passing work at Georgia, so we'll see what happens there. I just feel that, like you said, if Stafford takes a push forward, I think that the passing weapons are propelled and not necessarily Swift or Johnson.
Out of the top 10 of the top 10 career rushers at Georgia, DeAndre Swift was actually top with 6.6 yards per attempt for a run. So
yeah. I mean,
he is electric. I just don't see Matt Patricia using him correctly in any type of way, and it will just kind of hurt his value.
Yeah, Kerryon Johnson is still there and is going to be in his way. Just like it works backwards, when Johnson's trying to stay in the field, Swift's going to come in and steal some touches. And how are you even going to do the red zone with these guys, with Swift versus Johnson? Who's going to be the lead guy going into that scenario?
Who's the goal line guy?
Yeah, exactly. They both have the abilities to be that to fill that role. So,
and I think that is going to be a little bit of a growing pain the first few games as it settles in. But I trust Swift. I think for the what you're going to pay to get him, which shouldn't be a lot in those rounds as you're filling in your roster and your bench and your role guys. I think he's someone that could evolve. That part of my draft, the late middle to the late part of the draft, I like for guys like, who can turn into a player for me. Or maybe he gets hot for 2 or 3 games. Maybe you flip him.
I could see that being the case for each of these guys.
Yeah, it can happen with either one.
Similar to the Washington backfield. 3 to 4 week booms out of Johnson, out of Swift, maybe even Bo Scarborough. Who knows?
And that's when you use Nick's philosophy with the Patriots running backs. Let it be somebody else's headache.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I'll take one of them for free if they land in my lap, and I'm looking at a spot where I need a running back. I'm not saying, hey, if you need a running back, you need to stay away from these guys, where they're getting drafted, but it's just not a preference that I want to have. I don't want to have to rely on this backfield whatsoever. So, anyone else with a closing remark on this one?
Nope, I think we covered it.
Okay, cool. So we're going to close it out here with some running back props, starting with Todd Gurley. Who's got the prop pulled up?
I got it.
What do you got?
So Todd Gurley's prop for this year was set for 924.5 rushing yards, and his touchdowns were set at 9.5. Now, granted, this was a few weeks ago, and these things can be fluid, but I think that's probably pretty consistent across the board.
It may have gone down with his recent remarks on his injury.
Yeah, I think lately the last couple of things I just shared with the guys, I think it was yesterday or Friday I sent that to you guys.
I think it was yesterday.
Yeah, where I was called it, where Todd Gurley's wearing some special compression sock or compression sleeve for his knee, which is apparently acting up again. I think they're playing down a significance. But when I saw, him go to Atlanta, he's only, 25 years old, but he's just had so many injury. And it's not one of those, just an ACL tear or bumps and bruises. He's got arthritis in his knee, which is chronic and honestly scary for a running back. So I'm staying away from him. I was slamming the under on both of these. Not that I wish ill will on anybody, but I'm just really concerned about his health, and it looks like it's acting up again. What do you guys think?
I think his signing was kind of to sell the new jerseys that came out because he's the hometown boy.
Yep.
And he really wanted to play in Georgia. They were able to get him, but it's just kind of like a feel-good story, but it's just going to end in, kind of like tragedy because he was a great running back. He was very exciting when he came into the league, but, you can't heal arthritis like you can, do surgery for an ACL. That's what's so bad about it. So now we're starting to see that it wasn't just the Rams medical staff saying that something was wrong. There is something legitimately wrong with his knee, and now it's starting to manifest, and, hopefully something can happen, but it's kind of, really doubtful.
Yeah, absolutely. It is a shame, right? I mean, Todd Gurley, you're looking at a guy that's rushed for 17 touchdowns in a season, gone over 1,300 yards once, almost twice. All the talent was there for this guy coming into the league. It's a damn shame, but it's definitely a situation I'm trying to stay away from. What's the number 9? What?
9.5 for rushing touchdowns and 924.5 for rushing yards.
I got to stay away from that because the best case or the best
scenario
approach for dealing with this arthritis is limited touches, right? I mean that's the way to do it, and the Rams showed it last year. Gurley still had 12 rushing touchdowns last year on 223 rushing attempts. He had plenty of volume. It's just that those numbers, or not the rushing touchdowns, but the rushing attempts, those are career lows for the guy. And it's sad to see, but it had to be done, right? And, looking at the other pieces that they had there in the Rams, no one else was going to keep things going. So obviously that's why you saw him, grab 12 touchdowns. Malcolm Brown, Darrell Henderson, they weren't closing in the red zone. So Gurley still has some value there. I think that he could, have maybe high touchdown numbers, maybe even 8 or more this year. but I'm definitely not getting involved in any of his rushing props. No. I'm telling you either to stay away or hammer the under. Because he's also going, let's say he is healthy all year, right? He's still going into an offense where Dirk Cutter's at the helm, and it's going to be a heavy passing offense.
Yep.
And they're not going to pass him the ball out of that backfield because suicide passes are the quickest way to increase the arthritis issues, Sending him a dead ball out into the flat, letting him get crushed while he's trying to pivot, that's not the approach for him. You want this guy going downhill in between the tackles and just letting him stride it out. So I'm not really sure how much use he gets this year. Dirk Cutter has come out and said pretty similar things like, I'm not really sure what we can do just yet with him because haven't been on the practice field, haven't been getting a ton of work for him. He's already wearing special equipment, compression socks, knee braces, etc. So, I'm not really high on this guy. I have him at running back 18, and that's just respect for the name, guys. And, sometimes...
I think that's very high.
Maybe it is. I don't know. You're still looking at a guy that could clean up in the red zone for you. In standard leagues, I think he can get you a good amount of work. And maybe 18 is too high, but for where he's going for the other players, that's where I want to put him because if I'm going to draft him still, like if I'm going to put him on my team, you're looking at 4th or 5th round at value. Anything ahead of that, that's too rich for me.
Yeah, I'm the same way. If I think I had to pause there for a second. I think he might be on my do not draft list unless it's like past round 12, which I know he's not going to last because of his name. But I just the risk. I cannot. My gut. I just don't feel good about taking him because 5th, 6th round. That's a pretty high spot. That's still like good starters on the board.
Yeah.
You take him there and he goes down week 1 for 6-7 games. That's a big blow to a team.
Sure.
The same person in your league that's taking Lev Bell pretty high is the same person that's taking Todd Gurley.
Yep. Name value.
Just name value.
Yep.
You're paying for what they did in previous years, but you're not looking at the actual present situation and future production that could come out. It like I said, it's unfortunate, but you just got to be real and just not let it be someone else's problem. Let it be someone else's problem.
I guess the way I look at it, last year coming into the season, Todd Gurley, we all knew about the arthritis. Mm-hmm. We all knew about it. The dude still put up 12 touchdowns.
Yep.
12 rushing touchdowns out of the 5th or 6th round. It's nothing to kick away. I don't hate it, but I would need Gurley definitely to be my 3rd running back. Mm-hmm. I could not draft him as one of my starters. But if I pop off, in the first 3 or whatever, let's say the first 4 rounds, 2 solid running backs, 2 solid receivers, I could take Todd Gurley in the 5th. I could do it, especially if running backs are flying off. I wouldn't hate it, but at the end of the day, I wouldn't feel great about it. But at the same time, if I have, a Gurley, a Chubb, and a Barkley or something like that, I'm not going to be overly concerned. I'm not going to be hating myself at the end of the day. At some of these times, you just have to be a little bit more, risky. That's how things pay off in fantasy. Not everybody was super high on Lamar Jackson last year. You got him at what, round 8, 9 in Superflex?
Yeah,
that shouldn't have happened. That should not have happened. That he should have gone much sooner, but we didn't have all the info. And that's life in the NFL. Everyone's thinking one thing, and week 1 comes out, and you get punched in the fucking face. I.e., anyone that's ever drafted or not drafted Alex Smith, a guy that comes in, first week has no hype up and throws 3 touchdowns.
Yep.
Happens all the time, at least when he's healthy. But I think that's it for Todd. I think we're both 1 foot in, 1 foot out kind of situation for all of us. I might be a little bit more friendly to his value. Seems like you guys are on the outs.
Yeah,
negative Ghost Rider.
No worries. Again, someone that you do want to be risk adverse with. But someone that I might take a shot at in the 5th or 6th rounds. Next up, we got Sony Michel, my running back 32. What prop did we have set for him, Imran?
Yeah, so Sony Michel, I just did a check-in because my article I mentioned, guys, was from 3 weeks ago. Mm-hmm. So the props have not changed. It's still what I posted in the article. His rushing yards are set at 924.5, and his rushing touchdowns are set at 7.5. Mm-hmm. Now, granted, when I wrote the article, nothing came out about injury or anything like that. I slammed the over on his rushing touchdowns and his yards. I feel like, we have a new-look Patriots offense, which it feels weird to say that because as long as I can remember growing up, when I think of Patriots, I think of Tom Brady. Mm-hmm. Patriots, Tom Brady. Now they have Cam Newton, and I think they're going to really redesign this offense and, how they attack defenses. You don't have Gronkowski. You don't have that same aerial attack. I think with Cam, I think we'll, have a nice season in New England. I think they're going to be more focused on the rushing attack. Like we talked about earlier, they have a plethora of running backs in that backfield. I think what I see Shoney Michel doing is a similar role to that of Jonathan Stewart from Carolina when they went to the Super Bowl, as being that ground and pound and red zone threat running back. Because what I think Cam's going to do that's going to help out Shoney Michel, assuming he stays healthy and he's able to play and get off the pup active list, is I think when they get in the red zone, that threat of Cam doing a read option or quarterback run, Cam is now a weapon that the defense has to respect. Not that they didn't respect Brady, but Brady wasn't going to do read options or any type of quarterback designed runs. Cam can. So I think that's going to help him out and get him a lot of those, 1-yard touchdowns, 2-yard touchdowns. And if he's playing full 16 games, I don't see how he wouldn't get, the required 8 touchdowns to hit this over. Now, we have to obviously watch how this progresses, right, guys, and see if he's healthy. If he plays in full 16 games, I think he can hit the over. Obviously, if he goes on the PUP reserve list where he's missing 6 games, this prop is going to probably be taken off, or it's going to be adjusted.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm on the under here. 7.5 is a little bit too high for me, especially with adding in Lamar Miller. Now, you wrote this before Lamar Miller was added in.
Yep.
So I could see that. But when you're bringing in Lamar Miller, you have a Damian Harris there that can do a lot of the same things as Michel, as Miller. I'm not so high on it. And then we get into the PUP situation. I don't know if he's going to start the year. I really don't. I don't know what the situation is going to be there for Miller versus Michel. Yeah, if he plays 16 games, you would assume that more rushing attempts, more looks in the red zone. I'm also not so high on Cam Newton being used as a dual threat. He has the abilities to be more mobile, obviously, than a Tom Brady or Jarrett Stidham. But at the same time, I see Cam as more of a north and south runner rather than east and west. I think he can run the play action really well. It's just that exploding from the line of scrimmage and beyond, going left to right, right to left, I don't see it there anymore for him. And I think that did show even in his last successful year in Carolina 2 years ago, and even in the preseason last year. Before he went down last year, before he got hurt, I thought his arm looked great. I thought his deep ball looked fantastic. In fact, better than I had seen it in years past. And he was coming off a year where he had thrown over 70% completion or 69%, whatever. So he was coming off of a really good year. It's just that the mobility, I think, is going to come down a little bit. And when you have mobile quarterbacks, that does increase the efficiency for your running backs. So I don't really see that being the case. I do see, Cam hitting up a lot of James White, a lot of Rex Burkhead, because they can explode out of the backfield. And Michel and Miller are more, in between the tackles. I think that Michel needs a ton of red zone work this year to hit that number. He has not hit, he needs to hit 9 or he needs to hit 8?
8.
He needs to hit 8. He has yet to hit 8 rushing touchdowns so far. He had 7 last year and 6 the season before that. So he's on the nose. I think it's a really good number. What was it? Only 6 rushing touchdowns his rookie season, but that was 13 games. So the value's there. He just needs to get back to it. But with the injuries, it's a really good number. It's a really good teaser, I think. And it's a stay away or an under for me. What do you think, Nick?
I'm going to go
tiebreaker to Nick.
I'm going to go under because basically from his rookie year to his second year, he got about 35 extra carries and only resulted in 1 extra touchdown. Based on that math, it would need another 35 extra at 8 touchdowns. I am not about that because he's not going to get 275 rushes in a single season. Bill Belichick don't care about your fantasy team. He can break off an 80-yard run, and you'd be like, oh, man, he needs that 1 yard and 1 touchdown to get me my touchdown points, and Bill Belichick will give it to Rex Burkhead, who has nowhere on your roster. So just realize that he's gonna break some runs. He is a great running back, but if he doesn't score a touchdown, Belichick's going to give it to another guy who's fresher. That's the way it is in New England. So just realize that I just don't see him hitting that number at all.
There's no overeating in New England unless your name is Randy Moss.
Yeah. Right.
Okay, that's the only way you overeat. And you really got to work the boss. Invite him to your Halloween party. Really make him smile. It's probably the only time I've ever seen Bill Belichick smile is when that that video of him and Randy Moss in his office when he's talking about the Halloween party. Yeah, there's no overeating in New England, okay? None of these running backs are going to completely feast. Maybe James White, just because he's more of a receiver. He was second on the team last year in targets.
And I think I'm just really excited to see this offense. I just want to see what it does without Brady and see what it does.
It's interesting.
It's definitely intriguing to see. My hunch is it's going to be more run heavy, which is why I like Michel, assuming he's healthy. But
sure,
It's going to be a fun one to revisit.
I see more yards, absolutely, because of the run heaviness, but I do not see more touchdowns because it's almost like
you think they're going to get split up.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. There's no way that they're going to continue to give Sony Michel the ball because even at 247 touches, he did not reach 1,000 yards and actually regressed in yardage from his first year. So, I mean, honestly, Bill doesn't care. Like, he's just going to give the ball to whoever's fresh, whoever's next on his rotation.
I like the idea of the Lamar Miller signing, right? Like, I like Belichick signing these guys with chips on their shoulders, right? Lamar Miller, Cam Newton. I mean, Lamar Miller, hashtag Lamar Miller sucks. That's a real thing on Twitter. Like the dude does something and it's just like, hey, I thought Lamar Miller sucks. Why did he just run for 10 yards? Why did he? Yeah. Didn't he have like a 90-yard run or something a couple years ago?
He did.
Something stupid. Yeah. And people are like, what the hell happened? I thought Lamar Miller sucks. You know, giving these guys, a second chance coming in the year after Brady leaves, I think it's a really interesting storyline. I just don't see any of these running backs, like Nick said, getting a really high touchdown total because at the end of the day, I think that Belichick still wants to reserve Michel. He wants to reserve Lamar Miller if he gets, if he makes a team, etc. Right? So I don't think any of these running backs are going to overeat, other than maybe, like I said, James White because he gets past the ball. So let's finish up here. We got Aaron Jones. His prop is set at 1,049.5 rushing yards this year. First inclination, Nick, over under?
Under, because A.J. Dillon's coming from Boston College. Boston College basically had like a Navy-like offense where it just was running the ball.
Mm-hmm.
A.J. Dillon was the bell cow. There was a picture released on Instagram, Facebook, wherever, and the legs on that guy, man, he just does leg day every day. Like, he's ready to take out some NFL linebackers and just run through the hole. Aaron Jones, he does have that receiver ability, so I think he's going to be getting a little bit more catches. I think A.J. Dillon's going to come in and definitely eat up some of that load. So he only hit 1084 last year with 16 touchdowns, so I don't see him getting over that with A.J. Dillon coming in.
What do you think, Emon?
Yeah, and I promise, guys, this has nothing to do with my eternal hate for the Green Bay Packers. I think Aaron Jones is extremely talented. I just don't understand what that team is doing in their offseason. They drafted, Nick just alluded to about A.J. Dillon. That was their second-round pick on a running back. They already have Jamal Williams in Green Bay, who's a decent running back as well.
Mm-hmm.
So now they're crowding.
Very respectable.
Yeah, absolutely. And now they're crowding this backfield up, and there's too many amounts to feed. And we just finished the most decorated wide receiver NFL draft. Green Bay took 0. So it's still, Devontae Adams by himself. They did sign Devin Funchess in the offseason, but he opted out of the NFL season due to COVID. Mm-hmm. So it's just, Devontae Adams again by himself. So I think Matt LaFleur, this offense, he comes from that Sean McVay tree, but I think he's going to have a more run-focused offense, and I think he's going to use multiple running backs. So my prediction was the under here, and it's not because I doubt Aaron Jones at all. I think he's immensely talented. If you look at his career, he's always been somebody with a high yards per carry, close to 5 or over 5, even 5.5 some seasons. I think he's, very talented, but I think there's too many mouths to feed, and I think they're going to have a committee. So I think a lot of people, we were just talking about, name value.
Mm-hmm.
I think this year in your league, you're going to see some people that are chasing last year's points.
Yeah.
With Jones, he almost had 20 touchdowns. So I'm taking the under here, and it's mainly because I think they're going to be more run focused, which is good, but it's going to be a committee.
Yeah, I'm going to take the under here as well. Last year he finished with 1,084 rushing yards, so it's another really good number. It's close, and the reason why it's a good number is because they did add A.J. Dillon. Now you do have 3 mouths to feed in that backfield. Matt LaFleur said all last year when people are, kind of joking with him, like, hey, you know, let Rodgers pass, you know, let these receivers eat. Why? Why do we need to? If anything, I need a third running back in this room to really make my system work. He's got his guy. He has his guy now in A.J. Dillon. So last year, Aaron Jones had 49 catches. Jamal Williams had 39. I see Jamal Williams eating a little bit less, getting a few less touches. I see A.J. Dillon as the true number 2 on this team. But I still see all 3 of them getting work. And with Aaron Jones, I think he could actually just increase his pass catching work. They didn't add a receiver there. Behind Devontae Adams, you're looking at Marquez, Valdez, Scantling, MVS. You got Alan Lazard. You got this dude coming in from the Canadian Football League. I don't remember his name off the top of my head, but the dude looks like a beast. I don't mind drafting him in fantasy. But I think that Aaron Jones does get a little bit more passing work this year. I think that he could actually get 55, 60 catches. And that's just based off of the way that the offense is going to work. I think they are more fluid to the running back position. I think they are going to definitely be using 2 running backs on the field, whether it's Jones, Williams, Dillon, or even Dillon Williams. I see Williams' workload coming down a little bit. I see A.J. Dillon definitely stealing touches. He was drafted in the 2nd round, and it was not to sit on the bench. You don't draft in the 1st round a quarterback to sit on the bench and then follow it with a running back to sit on the bench. That's just not how it works, guys. Obviously, I don't see Jordan Love coming in and taking snaps this year unless Rodgers gets hurt. But, yeah, that's your, okay, cool, that's a nice project we're going to work on. We're going to set Love to the side. Next, you got A.J. Dillon rather than any of the wide receivers that were available. So he's going to get used. He's going to be using this offense. I think that, again, another really good number, 1049.5, after a stud running back in Aaron Jones. Still very good. Had 16 rushing touchdowns last year. I just see him getting worked into the passing game more because he's, as far as like a pass catcher, will you all agree that he's the best of the 3?
Yeah, oh, absolutely. He almost had 50 last year.
Oh, that play against Dallas where he jumps over the dude and throws up the deuces. Oh,
when he had that big run against Minnesota, that 55-yard touchdown run, I literally won a league on that run. And so I really like him. And then the other thing I was going to mention, guys, is he's in a contract year. He's in the final year of his contract.
That's tough.
They're not going to pay him.
That's tough.
Which is why they brought in Dillon a year early.
It makes sense.
And again, like I said, love the talent, guys. It's just I think the Packers that's just not the direction they're going, and they don't really want to lead back.
Do you guys think, like, all this talk about 1,000-yard receivers and 3 teams like the Cowboys and the Chargers was 9 yards away from it last year? Do you think that there could be 2 1,000-yard rushers on the Green Bay Packers this year based on the information that we're getting from LaFleur and stuff?
No. What do you think?
That's a good question.
I mean, you're only looking at Dillon. Like, Williams is not going to rush for 1,000.
He's not, but he could prevent one of them from getting 1,000 yards.
Devontae Adams didn't get 1,000 yards last year in receiving.
No, he's been a little turfed up most of the
Wait, so are we saying all Packers, or are we saying 2 running backs?
Just 2 running backs on the Green Bay Packers, 1,000 yards.
No, that's not going to happen.
So, I mean, it's, averages break down. They would need to do what? Get 63 yards a game to do that. That's not a big number, but
it's not going to happen, though.
I don't think so. I think what I wouldn't be surprised is I think you could see 2 running backs with 900 and 800 yards.
Scrimmage.
Yeah.
Scrimmage.
I think rushing, I could see that with rushing.
Not with Aaron Rodgers still there. This is the guy that still is at the helm, when in the huddle, right? He, if he wants to call something different, he's the one that's going to do it. So I still see Aaron Rodgers getting his. I think, talking about chips on people's shoulders, it's talking about getting traded to the Bears. Like literally, that's been like all the Aaron Rodgers news. Needs to leave Green Bay. They don't love him. Where could he go? Oh, look, the Bears.
It's
when Brett Favre, legendary Green Bay quarterback, comes out and says, "I think it'd be pretty interesting if Aaron Rodgers played for the Bears." There's something wrong in Green Bay.
Yeah,
I guess we'll kind of close it out with that. I mean, if you're an NFL player, do you want to fucking play in Green Bay? I mean, Aaron Rodgers, no love. Devontae Adams, not getting a receiver also hurts him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Not getting a true tight end to replace Jimmy Graham, who, maybe wasn't doing everything that they need there, but, the weapons just aren't there for Rodgers, and, I kind of hate it.
So interesting fact, Aaron Rodgers is the same age that Brett Favre was when Aaron Rodgers was drafted to the Green Bay Packers.
How dare they?
So, I mean, this is kind of like the system that they do. I mean, he's probably going to be there maybe 1-2 years and then leave to another team. I just think that they're just looking to the future. Jordan Love is a lot more mobile than Aaron Rodgers. So, Matt LaFleur is a rushing, offensive player or offensive coach. So, I just see them changing the offense. It really does stink for Devontae Adams because he's going to be getting double bracketed all the time. So
he can handle it.
He can handle it, but
he can get work done in that system.
Handle being triple team because I think I don't respect.
You can't triple team him with those running backs down there.
I mean, if they want to run it, then great. But I honestly, Lazard doesn't scare me. Valdez-Scantling doesn't scare me. They drafted
Jay Sternberger.
Sternberger?
No, not really. They drafted the tight end from Cincinnati as well in the 3rd round. I mean, it's just I don't know what they're doing. I mean, they have a small window with Rodgers.
Yep.
As a Bears fan, I love it.
Oh, it's great.
It's great. Amazing. But I swear to God, if Jordan Love becomes a Super Bowl winner too, and they have 60 years of good quarterback play, I don't know what I'll do with myself.
I mean, eventually the Bears got to hit a quarterback, right? I mean, since I've been born, they haven't been able to do it, but Maybe someday they had all the chances.
No, I'm in that dark place now, Justin.
The Solomon Thomas, Mitch Trubisky, Patrick Mahomes love affair.
Oh man,
I remember that draft in there. Like, they'll probably draft Solomon Thomas. Yep. It's a total Bears thing to do, right? Yep. Just draft some big D lineman. Oh, we made a trade. We're making
trade now. Well, probably Watson, right? Most decorated quarterback.
Like, what looks like we're getting a quarterback, guys.
Let's take the guy that played 1 year at North Carolina.
That's what happens when you gamble, guys. We're trying to help you out in that regard, right? Trying to help you make some money, take it to the Hizzy. All right, guys, smash the like button. This is an interesting TITTH number 33. I'm coming off some wisdom teeth surgery, so this was not my flu game, but my jaw doesn't feel great right now, we'll say. So yeah, we're looking forward to coming at you for the next episode. This was TITTH number 33. Smash the like button, share the video. Appreciate all the love, guys. What do you guys got?
Thanks for watching, guys. I had a lot of fun doing this.
Yep, I just wanted to, if I could give a couple seconds, I want to give a quick shout out to everyone that's been supporting us, sharing the stuff, sharing it on Instagram, on Facebook. We really appreciate that. We don't really ask our friends to do that. The fact that people, just out of the kindness of their hearts do it. I know it probably seems like a small thing, right? Taking 2 seconds to share something to your wall or your story, but it means a lot to us. So I just want to shout out a couple of my friends real quick. Eric and Esther, Eric Masoodpour, my buddy Doodles, my buddy Bryce, Nick, Nikki. Thank you guys so much for helping us out, sharing our content, giving the feedback. Hopefully we keep giving you guys good feedback to watch.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for all the love, all the sharing, all of our day ones. Keep at it. We're going to be doing the same thing. So we'll see you guys next time. Take care.
See you guys.
See ya.
See ya.